Well, hello. I know it's late. It's late. Like, I normally am here at 3 o'clock Pacific time, but today was just one of those days that I had appointments that went crazy long, and here I am. Here I am. Let's make sure that I am actually live where I'm supposed to be live. Check in there. Can everybody hear me okay? Say hi if you can. I would love to see that. Am I live on the Insta? I can't tell if I am or not. Let's see here. Let's go over here. It says I'm live. Okay, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. It's not showing up on my Insta, so whatever. Kind of crazy. So how is everybody doing? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Let's see here. I've got my comments up and running. I've got this going over here. Alrighty. Look at me. I'm getting all technologically savvy. Like, this doesn't really happen very often, but here we are. Okay, so normally I'm diving into topics like mushrooms, healthy aging, skincare, whatever wellness rabbit hole that I've dove down that week is normally what I'm talking about on Monday. But this day is a little bit different because I wrote more of a personal blog yesterday. The sun's coming in. Hopefully the glare is not so bad. I wrote more of a personal blog this time, and it's about my grandma. It's about my grandma. And as I was writing it, something unexpected happened. I wasn't just remembering her. I started realizing how much of my philosophy about beauty, wellness, even life came from watching her. Not because she sat me down and gave me advice. She simply lived in a way that was that quietly taught everyone around her and made me wonder, who really taught us what beauty really is? Because if we learned our definition of beauty long before we ever brought it, long before we ever bought our first skincare product, who was it? So who was it that taught us all those things? Now, what I want to know is something that I was thinking about. I'm trying to form words here. Something that I was thinking about was the lessons that my grandma taught me that were really never intended to be lessons, but it shaped everything that I do today. It shapes everything that I am today. So let's talk about these lessons that grandma taught me. One is that beauty is something that you create. One of the things that really struck me while I was writing this blog was remembering all the flowers around the farm, not just around the house. There was flowers everywhere. There was lilacs by the back door. I remember, huge peonies and geraniums around the windmill. The line of poppies that went around the garden by the orchard. There was this cistern along the walkway, and I always gave it away. And there was a water pump. I remember there being this old-fashioned well spigot. You had to ram it up and down a couple times to get the water to come out. And it was ugly. I completely was terrified of it because every time I saw my dad or my grandpa lift up this big metal lid, there were salamanders and creepy crawly things and just spiders. I hate spiders. Hate spiders. All of those creepy crawlies that a child notices. And My grandma, she looked at that area and went, I think it needs geraniums. And she had these big geranium pots out there. And her geraniums, now maybe it was because I was a little girl, um, but I remember her geraniums, giant. Like she grew the biggest geraniums you've ever seen in your life. And like we were looking at the same thing. I saw something scary and ugly, but she saw somewhere to plant beauty. She saw some place that she could make prettier. Now, isn't that true of life? Like some people walk into a room and immediately see what's wrong, and other people walk into that room and ask, "How can I make this more beautiful?" Like I dream of restoring something old and dilapidated. I want to renovate an old house, an old farmhouse, an old historic home of some sort, bring it back to its former glory, big chandeliers and all the ornate things of the past. I would love to restore something ugly and make it very beautiful. That's what I want to do. So maybe what we think is ugly is just something beautiful and hiding. And maybe some beauty isn't something that we find, maybe it's something that we cultivate. And that word tend became so important to me while I was writing this because grandma tended flowers, people, she meals, friendships, faith. She showed me that beauty isn't accidental. It grows where we intentionally care for it, no matter what that is, no matter what that might be. Um, yeah, so I just keep thinking about all that stuff. So, lesson two. Lesson two, the things that really shape us are rarely taught. So the things that shape us are rarely taught. So here's something else that I realized, that I don't remember my grandma giving lectures ever. She didn't sit me down to explain hospitality. She didn't teach a class on kindness. She didn't have a lesson called How to Live Beautifully. She simply lived that way. People stopped by unexpectedly. There was always coffee, always pie or cake, always another chair at the table. She made room for everyone. And it didn't matter how long they were going to be staying, if they were spending the night, if they were spending a week, 2 months. Like her home was open, like always open. My grandparents were amazing. There was people coming and going all the time. And she just made room for everybody. And isn't that how some of life's biggest lessons are learned? Not because somebody told us, but because somebody showed us. As I was writing, I just started asking myself, what are people learning just by watching me? Not what I say, but how I live. And that was a convicting question. I had to think about that. How am I living? So another one of the lessons that I got from this blog and watching my grandma is that beauty and usefulness belong together. So one of my favorite observations in the blog was that my grandma never separated beauty from usefulness. This was a working farm. There were sheep, gardens, chickens, machinery, lots of dust. Oh my gosh, the dust was insane. Hard work, cattle occasionally, pigs. Like there was, oh, and ducks. Oh my gosh, the duck story. Like there was one time we had so many ducks. It was insane. They she went to go buy chickens, if I remember the story correctly. She went to go buy chickens. And by the time she drove out to wherever she was picking up these baby chicks from, all they had left were ducks. There was no chickens left, ducks. Well, she had driven all this way. She wasn't going to come back empty handed. And the guy gave her a really good deal. He felt bad. The guy gave her a good deal on the ducks. So she comes back literally with a carload of ducks. I don't know how many. It was insane, the amount of baby ducks that we had. And when it came time to harvest said ducks, we had a freezer, like chest freezers full of frozen duck. My baby brother, not my baby brother, the middle brother, Heath, he had no filter. And I remember one Sunday after meeting, like we all went to grandma's house for lunch. Like it was either Red's Chicken House or it was my grandma's house, one or the other. And sometimes Russell Inn, they had the buffet. But anyway, I digress. We were at my grandma's house, and we ate duck all the time. Duck, 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 duck. And she was very creative. She tried to make it different ways, but roast duck. And Heath asked, he was like, Grandma, is the only thing you know how to make duck? Is that all you know how to make is duck or something like that? And we laughed so hard because at this time point we were sick of duck, absolutely sick of duck. But we had never went hungry because of that. But yes, hard work, lots of hard work. And even though the farm was a working farm and there's machinery and dust and animals and all the things that are on the farm, she had flowers everywhere. She didn't think, I'll make things beautiful when the work is finished. She made beauty part of the work. And I think we do that today in our own ways. We say, oh, you know what, when life slows down, when the kids are older, or when the kids get back in school, when I lose the weight, when I have more money, then I'll buy the flowers. Then I'll get started on this project. Then I'll decorate. Then I'll take care of myself. Grandma never waited. She simply believed that the useful things deserved beauty too. And that lesson stayed with me my whole life because you have to figure out how you're going to care for things and make things wonderful at that moment. Because if you wait till it's perfect, it's never going to be perfect. You're going to be waiting until the cows come home. Trust me, they don't come home very often. So the fourth lesson that I got out of this blog was that healthy aging is about more than skin. Now, I love researching. I love researching healthy aging and aging smartly. I'm not so much about anti-aging. I say that word every now and then, but it's not so much the anti-aging. It is aging wisely and aging healthy, aging strong. Now, I can spend hours reading and researching and studies about nutrition, mushrooms, skincare ingredients, longevity, collagen, and I absolutely believe that those things matter. I truly do. But writing this blog reminded me that healthy aging isn't only about biology, it's also about purpose. My grandma kept baking, she kept sewing, she kept serving, she kept her faith, she kept worshiping, she kept welcoming. She read her Bible every day. She found ways to contribute even as she got older. And when I think about aging well, I don't just think about having fewer wrinkles, having more energy. I think about becoming the kind of person people are grateful to know. And that's a different goal entirely. A different goal entirely. So the fifth lesson. The fifth lesson is that the why hasn't changed, only the how. So now this is where everything came together for me because some of my sweetest memories are sitting at, raiding grandma's vanity in her bathroom. Now this was an old bathroom. There's like one light above the mirror, the kind you have to pull the chain. There was no shower. It was just a bathtub and one bathroom in that house. And it's kind of funny because I remember the floor being carpeted. I always thought that was weird to have a carpet in the bathroom, but it was carpeted. And she had this old sink, no place for your little tchotchkes, no place for all your pretty things. She had a tray. So she had like a little rack to the left and had all of her goodies on it. She had Pond's cold cream, Noxzema, Vaseline, and Mary Kay makeup. The little pink makeups and she'd let me put makeup on. She let me put makeup on her. She was very patient. We played beauty parlor. I would roll her hair because she would get a roller set every week. And, when we're working, like if she washed her hair in between her rollers, I itch thinking about it. If she washed her hair in between the roller sets, then I would sit at the couch and she would sit in front of me and I'd roll her hair and do a roller set for her. She was so patient with me, so patient. And those are some fun memories because looking back, I don't think that those products or those things that I remember, the Mary Kay makeup and Pond's cold cream, but that's not the point. The point was that she believed that caring for herself mattered. It wasn't out of vanity, it was out of dignity. And today we know so much more now than we did then. We understand skin barriers. We didn't know what skin barriers were then. We didn't think about hydration for our skin. I mean, basically, let's think of Noxzema and Pond's cold cream as the original slugging. Like when we coat our faces with castor oil or rose oil or something like that. They were the original OG sluggers back then. So hydration, antioxidants, peptides, things that we know now, ingredients that support healthy skin. We didn't know that stuff back then. And when women ask what I personally recommend today, I often point them to some of my favorite things. I have bundles. We can analyze your skin if that's what you want to do, and we can look at different bundles from not just topical treatments, but also internal treatments to help create beauty. They don't really create beauty though. My grandma, when I think about it, she settled that question for me years ago. Products are tools. The beauty comes from the woman using them. And my grandma taught me the why behind the beauty. Years of research have helped me learn the how. But I think we need both at this point in life. Absolutely. We need both. We need to know the why and the how. And as I finished writing the blog, I realized something that surprised me because the woman who had the greatest influence on my understanding of beauty, like not the woman, the women, the group of women in my life, because trust me, there was a tribe, but it wasn't celebrities. It wasn't like they weren't influencers. They weren't beauty experts. They had their tips and tricks and they looked amazing all the time. But they were farm wives. They planted flowers around cisterns and welcomed people without keeping score. Baked pies and cakes because loved people. Quietly lived her faith every single day. And I think that's the kind of beauty that lasts. So I'd love to leave you with a question. Who taught you what a beautiful life looks like? Was it your grandmother? Was it your mother? Was it your grandfather? Was it your father? A teacher? An aunt? A neighbor? Tell me about them in the comments. I want to know who it is. I would love to chat with you about that. I love reading the comments and I love reading the stories. And if today's conversation reminded you that caring for yourself is part of caring for the life God's given you, just let me know. I've got tips and tricks up my sleeve. If you want to know more, simply message me and I can share some of the tools that I use today, inspired by the same philosophy that my grandmother lived. Take care of what you've been entrusted with. So thank you so much for joining me this week. And until next week, keep looking for beauty in ordinary places and keep tending the life that you've been given. Talk to you later. Bye.